If you keep tweaking your production, but it still doesn't feel right, the chances are you're probably breaking one of these 6 rules. I'll break down how today's biggest songs use these exact rules to stay exciting and replayable, so you'll walk away knowing exactly what to fix in your own production. Let's start with rule number 1, which is probably the most essential, and it's all about the song groove. So if you listen to Taylor Swift's new song, The Fate of Ophelia, they absolutely nail it. So I like to break the groove into 3 parts: drums, bass, and vocal melody. And they all work together to create that addictive head nodding feel. So how do you build a groove that just keeps people hooked? Here's a 3-step formula that I use. So step 1, keep the drums simple. Listen to the drum stem of Taylor's song here, which by the way is one of the biggest songs in the world right now. Step 2, a bass that moves is a bass that grooves. And like a static bass line won't create energy. Listen to this before and after comparison here using the same Taylor Swift track. So first, listen to it with a boring bass line. Now listen to it with the original. So if you find a groove and movement in your bass and not just static whole notes, then you're going to make people move. Step 3, make your vocal melody singable on its own. So try soloing your vocal melody. Can you hum it? Does it have rhythm and melody to it, even without the underlying track? If it can stand up on its own, it's grooving. With these Taylor Swift songs, it's almost impossible not to have an earworm after listening to the top line vocal melody, and that's likely because they were written by Max Martin. Let's move on to rule number 2, which is, I think, the easiest rule to implement, but it's going to have such a massive impact on like how your songs feel. So it's something you're going to hear in one of the biggest songs right now. It's called Ordinary by Alex Warren. Epic song. Epic vocal in that song. This isn't groundbreaking stuff. They use quick silences and dropouts right before big moments, and you can actually visually see this in the audio here. So these drops, or like breaks, whatever you want to call them, they do 2 powerful things at once. So 1, they just give your ear a moment to breathe, which makes the next section hit way harder. And 2, they kind of act as like a natural transition between song sections, right? Like between a verse and a chorus. So you hear like a lot of producers talk about transitions like risers or sweeps or reverse reverbs and stuff. And that's all cool. But honestly, a well-placed stop or break is one of my favorite tricks to do and really easy to. So here's how to use one. And again, grain of salt, like maybe not all songs need drops or breaks because it kills something. But sometimes it's worth giving it a try. So first, pick a section you want to emphasize, like usually before a chorus or drop. Then cut out everything like 1 bar or maybe even just half a bar right before that section hits. This is also powerful when the vocal melody comes in before the downbeat of the chorus because it gives space for that vocal to shine. Here's one I recently did on a song I produced. It ain't over, let it be. So let's get closer. Okay, next is rule number 3, and it's one of the coolest production trends in modern pop. And once you hear it now, you're going to notice it everywhere. Listen to the drums of Billie Eilish's biggest song right now. Can you tell what's going on here? These drums sound super real, right? But here's the twist. They could be and might be programmed drums. That's the trend. In today's pop music, it's blending these like real sounding drums with more fat electronic sounding drums, but they still sound real. And when it's done right, like this, you can't even tell the difference. So how can you do this in Logic? Well, here's my go-to kind of cheat code for modern drums. Step 1 is use the Logic built-in drummer to find a groove that fits your track. If you play drums, hey, just play the groove and record your drums. You can skip this step. Step 2 is once you have the right feel, drag this whole section into the overheads section. Step 3, bounce this drummer track to audio. Just make sure to select as additional tracks here. That way you get each drum part as a separate audio file. Now the fun part, let's swap or blend the sound. So click on your kick track and press Control D. This is going to allow you to replace or blend that kick with a different sample, for example, from Splice. So load your sample into the Logic sampler of that track and boom. So with this, you got this real feeling kind of natural drum groove, but you've layered in like fatter samples that sound a bit more punchy and more modern. Okay, now let's talk about rule number 4, which is one of the sneakiest tricks pop producers use to keep your ear engaged. And it's one that most beginners completely miss. It's not about what you sing, but when you sing it. So if your vocal melody always enters at the same time, say like right after beat 1, then your song starts to become predictable. Your vocal melody starts to become predictable. But shifting when the vocal enters in each section creates movement, contrast, and surprise. And surprise is like attention. So say what you want about Taylor Swift, but her songwriting and production choices are incredibly intentional, and her track, The Fate of Ophelia, nails it. You can listen to where her vocal enters in each section. Like in the verse, the melodic motif comes in just after the 1, giving it a conversational, relaxed feel. In the pre-chorus, it starts slightly before the 1, but still on the upbeat, building tension. And then in the chorus, it lands right on the downbeat just before the 1, giving it like more impact. This subtle shift in timing keeps the energy evolving and keeps the listener hooked. If you feel like you have a slow song, the moment you change where you sing your vocal melody can change the entire feeling of your song. It can actually take a slow song and make it feel faster. Most beginner songs drag because the melody always starts in the same place, and then your ear just gets used to it and it's way easier just to tune out. So here's a simple rule of thumb that you can try in your next track, for example. Let's say in your verses, start your vocal melody after the 1 and maybe on the upbeat, and then let your choruses start before the 1, but on the downbeat. Seriously, give this a shot, and I think it will completely change the flow of your songs. Okay, let's talk about rule number 5 now, which is I would say the most powerful tool you have as a producer. It's how you let your arrangement unfold. I hear this all the time in beginner productions. Too many layers, too soon, not enough contrast between sections, and no space for the listener to breathe. Great songs build with real intention. They reveal themselves slowly most of the time, giving you time to feel each moment before moving on to the next. So like, you ever wonder why you don't like a song, even if it sounds good? Like, it's usually because you don't understand it. The producer layered too many things at once or tried just to throw too much at you, and they failed to like communicate and connect with you. Listen to the arrangement of one of the biggest songs in the world right now, and no, it's not Taylor. It's called Man I Need by Olivia Dean. What a killer song. In this song, there's a story. The track really breathes and the arrangement breathes. It grows and pulls back. But at no point are you confused about what you're supposed to be focused on. So how are you supposed to create this arrangement and clarity in your own songs? Well, think about reeling in a squirrel. Okay, stay with me for a second. If you throw all the nuts at once, the squirrel runs away. But if you feed them just one at a time, they come closer until they're in the palm of your hand. The same thing with your listeners, kind of. Introduce ideas slowly. Let them absorb one before the next arrives. Here's like another way to think about it. Start with your groove foundation, drums and bass. That's easy for someone to understand. Then maybe it's also layered with chordal information, like a guitar, keys, pads, or whatever. Then bring in your vocal melody. So from here, you can also add more too. Like, of course, there's no limit. It's just a way to approach it. Like you can add counter melodies or harmonies, but only if the listener has had time to process what's already there. If you throw it all at once, it's hard to distinguish what everything is and hard to translate. It's also not about just what you add, it's about how you shape the energy over time too. You need to create these moments of tension and peaks and then valleys. Make your verses feel smaller so that the chorus can explode. Let your bridge breathe so the final chorus feels earned. Another final tip on this is don't stack too many melodic ideas. Like as a rule of thumb, you should probably keep it to like 2 or 3 melodic elements at any moment. So this includes like a vocal and maybe a synth lead thing or an arpeggiator thing happening at the same time. Every new melodic idea is something that the listener is going to have to understand. So keep it focused and build one nut at a time. That was a ridiculous analogy. Okay, rule number 6 is by far the most important rule of them all. I may have even said that to one of the other ones, but I think it's one that you should be most picky on. So what do all the songs that we've looked at in this video so far have in common? They all have an amazing lead vocal track, and that comes down to 2 things: a killer vocal melody and a great performance. So before you even touch the production, before plugins, samples, or effects, you need to ask, would this melody work if like I just sang it with an acoustic guitar? Or can you just snap along with your melody with no instruments at all? A strong vocal melody should be simple, memorable, and singable on its own. So you really can't move on to the production, in my opinion, unless you do that acoustic guitar or snap test. Or you can get a objective opinion from a professional. Like, for example, you can sign up to our newsletter, send me an email, and I'll get back to you. The big problem here is we are also comparing ourselves to like the world's biggest hits right now. And production is not an overnight success. It takes years to learn and get really good at. I'm still learning all the time. I'll never consider myself a master at production. But if you want to get maybe closer to my level, let's say, and you want to shorten that time in half, then watch this video here. And you're going to learn the production fundamentals that I use from like a blank Logic session to a fully released finished song. Actually, in this video, I do it in less than 5 hours, and this song ends up on Spotify too. So I'll see you there.